Hello everyone, this is Ross Coulthart. He's an Australian journalist and author who's enjoyed a fairly successful career, even working and presenting for 60 Minutes Australia in the past. He's investigated and written about other issues outside of UFO stuff, but he does seem to have a particular shtick for those stories. Lately he's been filing stories for News Nation. Now I should say at the outset here that I'm a believer in the likelihood of alien life. That's not a subject I've ever done a video on, and I could share a whole bunch of thoughts on that topic, but I just wanted to clear that one up before moving forward. Our friend Ross also believes in alien life, but he's a lot easier to convince than me. But don't worry, Ross has evidence, and in a moment we're going to see this incredible evidence for ourselves. Our friend Ross here seems to think, or is at least making a few dollars from telling people that he seems to think, that the more frequent recent sightings of drones in US skies, particularly over New Jersey, are somehow possibly of unearthly origin. Anyway, let's check out Ross's compelling evidence.
News Nation has independently obtained previously unseen video obtained from a secret UAP craft retrieval program.
How is it a secret if they're so keen to tell just you and News Nation so that you blab to the world about it to the point where even Australians on the other side of the world know about it? I mean, it's not much of a secret, is it? But can I ask a question? Who exactly is funding this supposed not-so-secret operation? I mean, I hope you're not flying around the skies without FAA approval. Yes, there's just so many questions, isn't there?
This extraordinary footage clearly shows an egg-shaped object dangling in a sling below the belly of a helicopter.
Oh, look, I know many of you have already seen this, but this is just fucking gold. Well, I don't know, Ross. I'm not convinced. I'm just going to mute the, what I believe to be dubbed helicopter sound downloaded from cheapastshit.com to make way for my commentary on what I believe I'm seeing. You later claim in this video that this egg-shaped object is being lowered on a 150-foot cable or whatever, and that the object is about 20 foot long. What I see is a white party balloon being lowered on a 12-foot improvised something from Greg's back balcony onto the lawn outside, and the light coming from the left that must be pretty high if said object were really that large to cast such a shadow, is actually coming from the outdoor light from the back shed where Greg's brother Danny has his PS5 set up, a lot of porn, and largely likes to keep to himself.
Let's slow this down to take a closer look. That's an egg-shaped UAP suspended from a 150-foot long line.
I'm no helicopter pilot, but is it normal for a helicopter long line to be 150 feet? That's 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools in length. That sounds unnecessarily excessive to me. Maybe someone can answer that one for us. And how did you capture this supposed UAP? How did it end up neatly in that sling? Did you zoom by and just capture it perfectly, or did this alien craft that's travelled interstellar distances at warp speed to be here just fucking sit there passively while you manoeuvred your helicopter into position, allowing itself to be gently scooped up in the sling? Even at 150 feet, would a helicopter still not generate bluster on the ground? There's no movement of the grass or shrubs or whatever at all.
Let's freeze frame here to look at one of the clearest images of a UAP ever taken. This is no blurry light in a distant sky.
Oh, ain't that the truth?
The source of the footage putting themselves at incredible risk to record this UAP retrieval.
You see, Ross doesn't elaborate on what this risk is, who this chopper pilot is at risk from, or what are the possible consequences of coming out and exposing this oh-so-shocking truth. What we do know, though, is how this particular chopper pilot minimises that risk. He announces to the world that his name is Jake Barber and goes on to do an almost 3-hour interview with Ross, of all people, telling all about his experience. I'm guessing that we should now believe that the great personal risk that Jake is placing himself in by blabbing to the press is now completely nullified by the fact that he's sitting here blabbing to the press.
Look at how perfectly smooth the craft is.
What, like a balloon?
No markings at all, and no visible means of propulsion or way to see inside.
You mean like a balloon?
Watch how it rolls, almost graceful as it hits the ground.
Yeah, I've seen balloons do that.
Despite being wrapped in the ropes and canvas from the cradle as it's dropped for pickup. The UAP's final destination still unknown.
Well, we better hear from Jake, I guess. Obviously not the whole 3 hours odd, but enough to get the picture. He's the helicopter pilot, supposedly. I asked before about how was he able to capture the party balloon, but from suffering through some portion of this video, I learnt that Jake was just the transport guy once the party balloon had been inflated. Sorry, I meant captured by others. Just before I play this though, what the fuck is the go with our friend Jake here, who for some reason doesn't seem to like to blink? Very odd.
This is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in my life I'm about to share with you, so bear with me. This is, for me, when it became clear. As I get closer to this pick site, I start feeling odd. I start feeling extremely emotional. And the closer I get, the more the emotion starts to overwhelm me. And
What do you feel? What's the emotion?
I feel a sense of my mother. I don't know how else to explain it. I feel this intense hybrid of sadness and happiness and beauty and song. And it was very disruptive to me because I had a very practical responsibility at the time to operate a helicopter in the mountains at night. And I began wondering what was wrong with me. It was late. Am I just stressed? Am I tired? Am I marinating in cortisol and estrogen? I don't know.
Yeah, there was probably plenty of estrogen in there.
But as I came over this object for the pick, there was this overwhelming sense of emotion.
What's it saying?
Like I said, it was an overwhelming sense of sadness, happiness.
Is it your feeling? Are you suddenly having a mental breakdown on the job?
No, I felt like something connected with me.
Sounds to me like a mental breakdown is what connected with you.
I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of guidance on what to do and how profound what I was doing was.
You know you're listening to fabricated esoteric diatribe when you hear them say something that you can follow a logical path to, yeah, whatever the fuck that means.
I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of guidance on what to do and how profound what I was doing was.
Anyway, now we get to the bit that does make sense.
And it was so overwhelming that I began to cry. And
I can't imagine crying at night time with night vision goggles is the healthiest way to fly a chopper.
no, it is not. And then I'm confused as to why I'm crying at the same time. And then do I abort the mission?
Well, it was probably all that estrogen that made you want to abort things. Or at least made you feel like you wanted to abort things.
So I just did my best to focus on my particular cues when doing this type of work, and I got the load hooked up and I began flying away. And once it was just me and that object in between the pick and the drop site, there's about 20 miles in between, I felt like something was inside of me. I felt like I was possessed by the most beautiful spirit I'd ever been possessed by. And
Was it loving?
it was loving.
He felt something inside of him and it was loving. I mean, you guys know the alien anal probe fantasy's been done too many times now, right?
But there was a sense of sadness at the same time.
Mate, the sadness surely came from the knowledge that this would be your only fleeting moment alone with Balloon, whom or whatever it was, being bonded with your soul. In a loving way, of course.
And
Had you ever had an experience like this before?
no, it was a very feminine energy. I'll tell you that. It felt like the spirit of God, but not in any masculine sense that I had ever felt. It was like, again, the feeling of my mother and my daughter and beauty.
Well, guys, that's quite an entertaining narrative you've manufactured there. But anyway, back in the real world.
From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
You'd think that announcement would pour water on Ross's imaginary alien fire, but he's continuing on with his ridiculous, utterly laughable mockery of actual journalism. Don't get me wrong, I'm all happy that he continues being a journalist. I just wish that in the confines of that profession, he'd get a real job.